Some mornings you wake up and feel like a stranger in your own life. The room is the same, the sunlight still spills across the floor, but something inside you feels missing. You sip your coffee, stare out the window, and wonder quietly, when did I begin to disappear from my own story? You're not lost, not exactly, but something softer has gone quiet. The part of you that used to feel alive, unburdened, curious. Maybe it's the weight of years, the ache of memories that won't quite let go. Maybe it's the gentle erosion of joy in the noise of routine. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the quiet truth that somewhere along the way, we forgot how to begin again. They say people don't change after a certain age, that we're too set in our ways. But that's only true if you believe yourself is a solid thing, fixed, permanent, carved in stone. What if that's the real illusion? What if the you you've been holding on to, with all its regrets, fears, and old roles, is just a story waiting to be rewritten? There's a reason why some of the most peaceful people you'll ever meet are the ones who've learned how to let go, not just of things, but of identities. They've stopped carrying the version of themselves that no longer fits. And in that surrender, they found something astonishing. But that secret isn't taught. It's remembered in silence, in stillness, in morning light. So before this day sweeps you into its rhythm, take a breath. Because today, you just might meet the version of yourself who's been waiting all along. Let's begin. Part 1. The self is not fixed. You are not who you were yesterday, but do you truly believe that? There's a quiet moment every morning, right after we open our eyes but before the world rushes in. A moment so brief, so delicate, that many of us miss it. It's the moment before memory takes hold, before yesterday's worries, regrets, or old habits slide back into the driver's seat. And yet, that moment holds the key to something profound, the invitation to be free. But why is it that we often feel like we're trapped in the same patterns, the same thoughts, the same version of ourselves, even after all these years? Why does change seem so far away, like something always out of reach? The answer, the Buddha might say, lies in our mistaken belief in a permanent self. He called it an atta, the truth of non-self, that we are not the same person today as we were yesterday, that there is no fixed, unchanging identity behind our thoughts, emotions, or even our memories. Just as a flame changes moment to moment, flickering but never static, so too do we. But we cling to our stories, to who we think we are, to the labels life and others have given us. There's an old Zen parable that speaks to this beautifully. A young monk once traveled far to meet a revered teacher known for his piercing insight. When he arrived, he bowed deeply and asked, "Master, I've come to find my true self. Please show me who I really am." The old master simply replied, "Who are you when you forget who you are?" The monk hesitated. Confused, he stammered, "But I am me." The master gently smiled and motioned to a nearby stream. "Look into the water. Tell me, is the reflection the stream?" The monk stared, silent. "It is not," the master said, "and neither are you the reflection of your thoughts." It's easy to confuse who we are with what we remember, what we've suffered, or even what others have told us we must be. I've always been anxious. I'm too old to change. This is just who I am, but these are just mental formations, echoes of habit, not truths, the Buddha said. All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering, and that includes the story of self we carry. So I ask you now, gently, who would you be if you didn't carry yesterday into today? If the version of you that was shaped by heartbreak, shame, or regret didn't get to decide who shows up this morning, would you still speak with hesitation? Would you still shrink from joy, or would you sit up a little taller, breathe a little deeper, and look at the day with fresh, unfiltered eyes? Many people think they're too old to change, but in truth, age is often what makes change finally possible, because we've seen enough to know what matters and what never did. We've been the flame long enough to know that it flickers not because it is weak, but because it is alive. And just like the flame, you are not your past. You are the space through which it has moved. This morning, before your old self rises with the alarm clock, sit with the silence. Ask yourself, what if I'm not who I think I am? Don't rush to answer. Just listen. Watch the thoughts rise like mist and let them pass. Because here's the quiet truth. The moment you stop clinging to who you were, you begin to meet who you truly are. Not in the form of a new identity, but in the freedom of no longer needing one. And that, dear friend, is where the path begins. So if the self is not fixed, what then are we truly becoming? Or perhaps, what is waiting for us once we stop becoming anything at all? Part 2. Let go of yesterday. You can't welcome the morning if your heart is still tangled in yesterday's storm. There's something we rarely talk about when we speak of peace, of clarity, of starting over. We often say we want a fresh start, but quietly, secretly, we bring yesterday with us like an old suitcase we're too afraid to unpack. Every morning becomes a repetition of the past, not because life has not changed, but because we haven't let go. In Buddhist thought, impermanence, or anicca, is not merely a philosophical concept, it is the very pulse of existence. Nothing remains the same, not the river, not the sky, not even the self you thought you were just a moment ago. And yet, so much of our suffering begins the moment we resist this truth. There's an old story from the Theravada tradition that I carry with me often. It's about a monk who walked miles each day to fetch water from a nearby stream for the temple. One morning, as he leaned over to scoop the water, he slipped and dropped the ancient brass bowl the monastery had used for generations. It cracked in two and sank beneath the current. The younger monks panicked. That bowl was a sacred heirloom used by their master's master. But the old monk simply stood, watching the river flow. Then he smiled and said, "The bowl was already broken the day it was made." The river just reminded us. What he meant was this: everything, even the things we cherish most, are already in a state of change. We lose peace not when things fall apart, but when we refuse to accept that they were always going to. So I gently ask you now, what bowl are you still holding onto from yesterday? A regret that replays at dawn? A word you wish you hadn't said? A version of yourself that you wish could be rewound? Perhaps, like many of us, you wake up each morning carrying silent burdens. A difficult conversation from last week, a mistake from last year, the ache of someone who didn't stay. And maybe that's why you feel tired before the day has even begun, because you are carrying time that no longer belongs to you. But here's the gift of morning, whispered softly by Buddhist wisdom. Each sunrise is a doorway. You do not need permission to leave what no longer serves you. You do not need to fix what has already passed. You only need to recognize that nothing truly stays. Not the pain, not the joy, not even the self you're trying to protect. The Buddha once said, "Let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of the present. With a heart that is free, cross over to the farther shore of existence." And in that letting go, we don't lose anything. We gain space. Space to breathe. Space to see clearly. Space to receive the new. Imagine if, tomorrow morning, you opened your eyes and gave yourself one silent moment before memory took over. Imagine placing your hand on your heart and saying, Yesterday, I thank you. But you do not need to come with me today. What would shift? What space might open? What peace might finally land? Some may ask, but what about the important things? The love, the lessons, the people who shaped us? Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the grasp, not the gratitude. It means carrying the essence, not the weight. There's a difference between remembering with love and living from wounds. So, as you prepare for this new day, this new breath, I invite you to loosen your grip on what no longer needs to be held. Let the bowl go, let the river carry what it must, and allow yourself to arrive fully with both hands open. Because if we don't make room, how will we ever know what life has been trying to give us all along? And when you've let yesterday go, what then do you meet in its place? Perhaps it is not something at all, but someone, the quiet, patient companion you've forgotten to return to silence. Part 3. Silence is a sacred companion. Before the world speaks to you, let silence hold your hand. There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from the absence of noise. It's not the hush of an empty room or the stillness before dawn. No, this silence is deeper. It's the kind that arrives when you finally stop running, not from the world but from yourself. Most of us fear silence without even realizing it. We reach for sound the moment we wake. Music, news, the voices of others. Anything to avoid sitting with the quiet hum of our own being. It's understandable. In the silence, there are no distractions, just us, and everything we've left unresolved. But Buddhist teachings remind us again and again, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. Not the world, not your neighbor's dog, not the ticking clock, but something more essential, the sound of your own breath, the whispers of your heart, the awareness that has always been there beneath the noise. There's a Zen story passed down through generations, simple like many Zen tales, but it lingers. A student approached his master, anxious and uncertain, and said, "Master, I feel lost. I don't know which path to take. I don't know what to believe." The master didn't speak. He led the student to a small hut and said, "Stay here for 3 days. Do nothing. Listen to no one. And if the silence begins to frighten you, stay longer." The student stayed, reluctantly at first. On the first day, his mind raced. On the second, he cried. By the third, something began to shift. The silence no longer felt hollow. It felt like home. When he returned, the master asked, "Did you find your answer?" The student simply bowed. In silence, things rearrange themselves. Not because we force them to, but because when we stop stirring the water, clarity returns. Emotions that once felt overwhelming begin to soften. Thoughts that seemed urgent lose their grip. The self that constantly seeks validation begins to dissolve, revealing something softer, something sacred. And yet, most of us never pause long enough to witness this. We confuse silence with loneliness, or worse, with emptiness. But in truth, silence is the gateway to wholeness. You see, the old self, the one built on reaction and noise, cannot survive in silence. It depends on distraction to exist. It needs activity, drama, and stimulation to stay alive. But the self that is grounded, the self that is real, awakens only when all that fades. Peace comes from within, the Buddha said. Do not seek it without. So how do we make friends with silence? We begin with something very small. One breath, fully felt. 1 minute of simply sitting, not with expectations, but with permission. We do not need to chase stillness. We only need to stop running from it. Try this tomorrow morning. Before you speak, before you check the weather, Before you reach for your to-do list, sit. Just sit. Place your feet on the floor. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the air moving in and out of your lungs. If thoughts come, let them, but don't follow them. Just notice. Let that quiet space become your first home of the day. Let silence greet you before the world does. In that space, you might begin to notice something unexpected, a gentle joy that has nothing to do with your plans, your past, or your accomplishments. A joy that arises simply from being. And when you taste even a drop of that stillness, something changes. You no longer feel the need to fill every moment. You no longer fear being alone. Because in silence, you are never alone. You are with yourself, perhaps for the first time in a long while, and that self is not broken, not lost, not too late. That self has simply been waiting, patiently, lovingly, beneath the noise. So now, dear friend, ask yourself this: what might happen if each morning silence was the first voice you listened to? And if silence is your companion, then who is it that observes your thoughts as they rise and fall like waves? Part 4. Observing without reaction. You are not your thoughts, but have you noticed how often you obey them? There is a gentle turning point in one's life, often unnoticed, when the suffering we experience begins to feel less like something the world is doing to us, and more like something we're unknowingly doing to ourselves. Not deliberately, not maliciously, but out of habit, out of years of reacting without seeing, of moving without pausing, of letting the mind lead while we follow behind like a shadow. And yet, there's a way to step out of that loop, a way so quiet, so ordinary, that we often dismiss it, the act of observing without reacting. In the Buddha's teaching, this is known as sati, mindfulness, but not the kind packaged into apps or wellness slogans. This is the kind of mindfulness that transforms suffering, not by erasing it, but by meeting it with the calm gaze of awareness. Let me tell you a story, not from ancient times, but from a modern woman named Ruth. She's 72, lives alone since her husband passed, and most mornings, she wakes up already tired, not from lack of sleep, but from the whirlwind inside her head. Thoughts rush in like uninvited guests. What if my health fails? Why hasn't my daughter called? Am I becoming invisible? One day, during a community meditation group, the teacher asked them to close their eyes and simply watch their thoughts, like clouds drifting across the sky. No need to stop them, no need to believe them, just watch. At first, Ruth felt silly. How could watching help her? But something shifted. She noticed a thought arise. I'm alone. Her usual reaction would have been sorrow, maybe tears, but instead, she just observed. Ah, there it is, that old story again. And then it passed, and she was still breathing, still sitting, still whole. This is the secret that Buddhist masters have whispered for centuries. You are not the thought. You are the one who sees the thought. When you realize this, not just intellectually but deep in your bones, something powerful happens. You stop being pulled into every mental storm. You stop giving your energy away to every emotional wave. You become steady, still, present. As the Dhammapada teaches, as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not moved by praise or blame. But let's be honest, observing without reacting isn't easy. Especially not when we've spent decades perfecting the art of taking things personally. When someone cuts us off in traffic, when a loved one forgets our birthday, when the body aches in ways it didn't before, the mind reacts. It flares up with judgment, fear, resentment, and that's okay. You're human. The key is not to suppress these reactions, but to see them as they arise, to pause, to breathe, to make space between the trigger and the response. In that space, however small, lives your freedom. Try this the next time an uncomfortable thought appears. Rather than engaging with it, name it gently. This is worry. This is fear. This is longing. Then breathe. Smile softly. If you can, you're not denying the thought. You're just choosing not to become it. It's like watching a river flow. You don't need to jump in and be carried away. You can sit by the bank and watch it move. You are not the river. You are the one who watches. And the more you watch, the less power those old patterns have. The part of you that used to react with frustration now responds with patience. The voice that once shouted now listens. The old self, the one who needed to be right, to defend, to fix, begins to dissolve, not through force, but through clarity. So I leave you with this question to carry into your next morning. Can I simply observe without needing to control, fix, or react? Because when you do, something remarkable begins to unfold. Not just less suffering, but more space, more choice, more peace. And when reaction fades, what then remains? What does life feel like when we are no longer bound by the reflex to cling, resist, or defend? Part 5. The illusion of control. You were never meant to control the river, only to learn how to float. There's a peculiar thing about being human. We crave certainty like water in a desert. We want things to go according to plan, for people to behave how we hope, for the future to arrive neatly wrapped in safety. And yet, life doesn't quite agree. It spills over the edges. It changes direction. It whispers, sometimes painfully, "You're not in control." And so we suffer, not because life is cruel, but because we resist its flow. In Buddhist thought, this resistance is the very root of dukkha, suffering. It arises when we try to grasp what cannot be held or push away what must be faced. The Buddha taught that craving for permanence, pleasure, comfort, control is like a fire that consumes us from within. And the moment we begin to release that craving, even slightly, peace starts to seep back in. Let me tell you about Harold, a retired naval officer I met during a mindfulness retreat. He was tall, stern, the kind of man who used to command rooms without raising his voice. But life as it does had softened him, and not in ways he liked. His body ached, his memory slipped, and he confessed that mornings were the hardest. "I used to wake up knowing exactly what to do," he said. "Now I just wait." One morning during our silent walking meditation, I watched Harold pause by a small stream. He just stood there, tears in his eyes. Later that day, he told me why. "I kept trying to tell the river where to go," he said. "But today, for the first time, I saw it didn't need my permission to flow." That moment changed him, not because something outside improved, but because something inside finally surrendered. He stopped trying to grip the reins of life so tightly. He began to walk more slowly. He listened more, reacted less. He made peace, not by gaining control, but by letting go of the illusion that he ever had it. The Buddha once said, "Whatever has the nature to arise will also pass away." That includes your pain, your plans, even the part of you that believes it's in charge. We mistake discipline for control, but true discipline, from a Buddhist lens, is not about force. It's about presence. It's not about bending life to your will. It's about showing up with care, again and again, even when life doesn't listen. So what would it feel like, just for one morning, to loosen your grip, to let go of the invisible list you carry, of what must happen, who must change, how things must unfold? What if you replaced control with curiosity? Instead of, "How can I fix this?" ask, "What is this moment teaching me?" Instead of waking with the weight of expectation, arrive with the lightness of wonder. There's a Japanese Zen phrase I love: shikantaza, just sitting. No agenda, no control, just being completely present with what is. Maybe today, you could try just being with your tea, or with the morning light falling across your hands. Maybe that's where real strength lives, not in how well we hold things together, but in how gently we allow them to fall apart. And when things don't go your way, because they won't, breathe, watch, trust. You are not failing. You are learning the sacred art of flowing, because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let go. But if we stop controlling, what anchors us? What keeps us steady when life continues to move like wind through trees? Part 6. Begin again every day. The past is heavy, but the morning is light. If only we choose to rise with it. There's a quiet miracle that happens each morning, though many of us don't notice it. Not the sunrise, though that too is beautiful. Not the chirping of birds or the hush of early light. The miracle is this: you woke up. Again, no matter what yesterday held, joy or grief, clarity or confusion, life has handed you another blank page, and the pen, trembling though it may be, is still in your hand. But most of us don't write anything new. We reach for the same story, the same version of ourselves, as if yesterday's ending must be today's beginning. We forget that we can begin again, not just once in a lifetime, but every morning, every breath. In the Buddhist tradition, this practice is not poetic. It's deeply practical. Each day, monks chant verses of impermanence, not to remind themselves of sorrow, but to keep their hearts soft, to release attachment to yesterday, and to begin again, with no residue, no resentment, no clinging. There is a Zen tale of a monk named Shunri, who at the age of 80 still swept the monastery garden each morning before sunrise. One day, a younger monk asked, "Master, why do you still sweep? You've done it for 60 years. Shunryu looked up from his broom and smiled. "Because today is the first day I've lived." What would it feel like to wake up with that same beginner's heart? Perhaps you've carried stories for so long. Stories of failure, of shame, of things that didn't unfold as you had hoped. Maybe you've said things like, "I'm too old to change," or "What's the point now?" But the Buddha never measured awakening by age. In fact, there are stories in the Pali Canon of disciples who found liberation in their final days, not because they lived perfectly, but because they met a single moment with full presence. He taught, "With our thoughts, we make the world." And every morning, you are given another chance to choose which world you will inhabit, one of repetition or one of renewal. But beginning again doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending that pain never happened or wiping away the wrinkles of time. It means looking at all of it, the joy, the sorrow, the missteps, and choosing not to let it define you. It means standing in front of the mirror, tired maybe, aching surely, and whispering, "I'm still here." And that means something. So tomorrow, before your feet touch the floor, pause, place your hand on your chest, feel the breath rise and fall, say to yourself, "Today, I begin again." Not because yesterday was wrong, but because this moment is new. And if doubt arises, as it often will, you can smile at it too. Say, "Thank you for protecting me, but today, I don't need you to lead." Rebirth, you see, isn't a single dramatic moment. It happens each time you choose compassion over habit, presence over distraction, courage over comfort. And yes, it takes effort. Yes, you'll forget sometimes, but each time you remember, you're already beginning again, and that in itself is enough. So perhaps, just perhaps, the question isn't, "Can I start over?" The real question is, What might become possible if I do? And when you begin again, not from who you've been, but from who you are now, what kind of space opens within you? What new soil awaits the seeds of presence, of purpose, of peace? Part 7. Tend the garden within. You cannot grow peace in a garden overrun with weeds, but oh, what beauty blooms when we begin to clear. There's an old saying in Zen: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. At first glance, it may seem like nothing changes, but what truly transforms is the way we tend to the small, the ordinary, the unnoticed moments. Because in Buddhism, the path to awakening isn't paved with grand gestures. It's built with mindful, tender attention to our inner and outer environments. What we often forget is this: our outer world mirrors our inner world. If the house feels cluttered, noisy, draining, pause. Look inside. Is your mind just as scattered? Are your emotions pushing against the walls of your heart, asking to be heard? Think of your inner world like a garden. Every thought, every belief, every memory, it's a seed. Some grow wild and nourishing, like kindness, gratitude, forgiveness. Others grow thorny and entangled, resentment, fear, judgment. And just like a garden, what you water grows. There's a story I once heard from a Buddhist nun in the Thai forest tradition. She was asked how she stayed peaceful despite the chaos around her: insects, storms, aching joints. She smiled and said, "I tend to my mind like I tend to the soil. I notice what's growing. I don't blame the weeds. I just gently pull them out, one by one." Weeds don't make you a bad gardener. They make you a human one. So what does this look like for you today? Maybe it's noticing how your heart tightens when someone doesn't respond the way you hoped, and instead of reacting, you pause and breathe. Maybe it's recognizing that the television blaring in the background isn't helping you feel less lonely. It's only crowding your stillness. Or maybe it's realizing that you haven't truly sat with yourself in silence for longer than a few minutes in years. The Buddha said, "It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles." And this garden tending, it is how we gently daily conquer the restless mind. It doesn't mean everything outside of you has to be perfect. The dishes may still need washing. The aches may still be there. But when your inner garden is cared for, when you've made a little space, even just a corner, where mindfulness lives, your relationship with all things begins to shift. You walk differently, speak differently. You stop trying to fix everything and start cultivating presence. And like any gardener, you begin with one patch at a time. You don't need to uproot your whole life in a single morning. Perhaps today, you notice a repetitive thought: "I'm not enough." And instead of following it, you tend to it. You ask, "Is this thought helping me bloom?" If not, breathe, smile, let it go. You may find that the more inner clutter you clear, the lighter your body feels, the more your breath deepens, the more you begin to hear things that were always there: the birds, the breeze, the gentle hum of life, moving quietly through the present moment. And yes, there will be days when weeds return. That's okay. We don't garden for perfection. We garden to stay close to life. So I ask you now, gently, what parts of your inner garden are asking for your attention? And what beauty might grow if you finally gave them your care? Because once the inner soil is soft and still, something else begins to rise. A tenderness that surprises you, a warmth that has no name. Could it be that gratitude, not desire, was what you were searching for all along? Part 8. The silence that speaks. In a world loud with wanting, could it be that silence is the most powerful prayer we never learned to say? We often wake up chasing things, tasks, validation, answers. The hum of the world greets us before our feet touch the floor. But there's a gentler voice waiting beneath all that noise, a voice that doesn't shout. It simply waits, patient, still. And in Buddhism, this silence is not emptiness. It's the fullness of being itself. There's an old Zen koan that goes like this. A monk asked the master, "What is the essence of Buddha's teaching?" The master replied, "Silence." The monk persisted, "But what does that mean?" The master said nothing, just held his gaze. In that pause, the monk understood. Sometimes, silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of everything. As we age, many of us feel life getting quieter. Children have grown, work has slowed, friends have moved on or passed, and with that quiet comes discomfort. The mind, long used to distraction, panics in the stillness. Old memories surface, regrets whisper, and in that swirl, many seek noise again. Television, scrolling, chatter, anything but the hush. But the Buddha taught, the quiet mind is greater than a wise speech. Why? Because in quiet, we begin to hear life as it truly is, unfiltered, gentle, spacious. There's a woman I met in Oregon, a retired hospice nurse. She told me that some of the most sacred moments she witnessed were not in words, but in silence, when a person nearing their final breath would simply gaze out the window at the sky or hold the hand of someone they loved and smile. It's as if, she said, they were returning to something before language, and it felt like peace. Silence invites us into that sacred returning. It's where the stories drop away, who we were, what we failed, what we wish could have been, and all that remains is presence, is breath, is life itself, right here. So what can we do with this silence? Not run from it, not fill it, but enter it. In the morning, instead of reaching for your phone, reach for stillness. Sit, close your eyes, just breathe. Watch the thoughts rise and fall like waves. Don't fight them, don't feed them, just notice. One moment becomes two, two becomes five, and soon you realize the silence is not empty, it's alive. It's where your truest self lives. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. The old self, the one driven by fear, comparison, and grasping, begins to fade, not violently, not in one great epiphany, but like mist in morning light, slowly, lovingly. You may notice that you begin to speak more softly, to listen more deeply, to react less, and observe more. And in this change, you don't lose yourself. You meet yourself, the one that's always been beneath the noise. This is not the silence of withdrawal. It is the silence of awakening. If you cannot find peace within, the Buddha said, you will never find it without. So perhaps today, you gift yourself 5 minutes, just 5. You sit in your chair by the window. No music, no agenda, just you and the breath. You might cry, or smile, or feel nothing at all. That's okay. Silence holds it all. Because what if this quiet isn't loneliness? What if it's spaciousness, a sacred emptiness from which abundance can flow? And what if, just what if, everything you've been seeking is simply waiting for you to stop, breathe, and listen? Let this silence be your temple. Let your breath be your prayer. Let each morning be a soft rebirth, not into doing, but into being. And so we close with this question. In the stillness of your soul, what might you finally hear when you are no longer running from yourself? Do you remember that quiet patch of sunlight we spoke of in the beginning? The one that stretched across the floor as morning arrived? It's still there, but maybe now it doesn't feel so empty. Maybe it's not just a patch of light anymore. Maybe it's a gentle invitation, a place where a new version of you can finally sit down and rest. As I speak these last words, I'm realizing something I didn't quite see before. Maybe we spend so many years trying to fix ourselves when all the while what we really needed was to forgive the old self for trying so hard to survive. Perhaps the real shift isn't becoming someone new, but remembering who we were before the world told us who to be. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from carrying stories that no longer fit, emotions we never had the language to name. But even that ache softens when it's met with stillness and a little compassion. Like dusk leaning gently into night. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove. This breath right now is enough. And if this has stirred something in you even a little, then maybe someone you know is walking quietly with that same weight. You don't need to explain why, but you could share this with them. Like a warm cup of tea left at the door, a way of saying, I see you, I thought of you. I believe there's still a light inside you that's waiting to rise. Because some days we don't need answers, we just need to know we're not alone in the dark. And that changes everything.